All of the colonial thought, all of the racist stuff that informed the way that Cook came here, it's not so much in the past. Lots of those things are like quite connected to how we behave now.
As Pākehā, we sometimes try to distance ourselves and say, oh, that was Cook and his ways back then. We ignore how much of that thinking we still carry in us.
Now, this is sort of the way that colonization works. Basically, you take a flag, you pop it down, if you see something nice, and then it's all yours. It's a wonderful system, actually, one that I use all the bloody time. Oh, this is quite nice here. There you go. This is a lovely bit of bench, waterfront property. You know what I think? Bam! That's mine.
Dressing up in colonial garb made me feel so nervous, you know. It was absolutely terrifying because it represents the worst of Pākehā people dressing up in like colonial, you know, like it feels so horribly loaded. Oh God, that smell. Mix of sweat and fear.
Right. Hello.
Captain Cook Thinks Again was a theatrical walking tour that Joe and I put together.
Cook has died, and basically Cook has spent like about 240 years thinking about what he's done and reading blogs and doing some reflection, basically.
Walking around the Wellington waterfront in colonial garb is like immediately like that thing. You get recognised in an instant and people like point at you and like, what are you up to, mate?
Although lots of young ones were like, there's Mozart.
Yeah, or a pirate. Look at a pirate.
Pirate. and we were like, yeah, well, he is. I was really interested in using him as a vehicle for us to unpack what colonial thinking looks like.
So, looking back while moving forward. Everyone give it a go. Here we go. So, you don't want anyone slipping away, because if you fall out of formation, you'll be flogged. The scene is 1769. I love it. Cross, everyone, cross!
What I knew of Cook, I knew from stories that I'd heard from my family and from my school. I would say that Captain Cook discovered New Zealand, and I wouldn't think more broadly about why that's a problematic phrase.
Well, that's funny, isn't it? It's quite funny. The Taranaki Street, you know, like the Taranaki iwi that used to live at Aotearoa Park. Look at that, over there. That's Wakefield Street. Mr. Wakefield was the man who was in charge of the New Zealand Company, and he's basically the one that bullied the Taranaki iwi off their land. So, you got Taranaki iwi, Mr. Wakefield, bam! It's funny they're crisscrossing like that. Over there's Halley's Lane. And on Mr. Halley, he was supplying the wood for the houses that Mr. Wakefield was building when he bullied the Taranaki iwi off their land. It's funny, isn't it? And then over there is Cable Lane. So Mr. Cable was on the harbour board at the time that Mr. Halley was supplying the wood to Mr. Wakefield when he bullied the Taranaki iwi off their land. It is so funny. Bing, bang, boom. History everywhere you look, crisscrossing around. God.
It was interesting. Do you remember when one of Cook's descendants came on the tour? A woman from Britain.
That's right.
She talked about a shift that she had, you know, growing up with the story of Cook the hero and then realising Cook the villain. And what a binary way to think about him. Like, okay, maybe he was doing the best with what he had, but that doesn't take away from the violence that he did.
Like, it's so easy to move around inside circles where you don't have to confront any of this at all. That's not the reality of what makes up Aotearoa or any colonised country.
And not just stopping at that Pākehā paralysis point about going like, gosh, I don't know, I can't, it's not my conversation. I understand why we do that as Pākehā, but it's not going to help us progress if we get stuck there.
Yeah.
Benita Bigham, she's a South Taranaki district councillor, and she was talking about Māori as the founding culture of New Zealand, and I really loved hearing it phrased in that way. That's our first nation, that's our first culture, and so it's okay for us to keep understanding and honouring and being curious and figuring out more.
So, who knows this man up here? This is Kupe. Now, in many stories, he's said to be the first Polynesian star navigator to arrive here in New Zealand. And when he arrived, his wife, Hine Te Aparangi, stood up in their boat and pointed out at the landmass in front of them saying, he ao, he ao, he Aotearoa. a cloud, a long white cloud. Now, it'd be a very, 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 very long time before the first Europeans would arrive. The Dutch named the whole of this country Nova Zealandia. And then I came along and I was like, oh God, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? So I translated that straight into English, and that's how we got New Zealand. Of course, we all sort of forgot there was already another name for this place. I think whatever you call something, it's reflective of the history you think is most important. So we have the English name for this country, and one of the Maori names for this country, Aotearoa. New Zealand, Aotearoa. What do you think? I don't know, come on. Come on.
There is that bit in the show, right at the very end, where we like tried to humanize Cook a little bit.
Yeah, one moment we talked quite a lot about was whether or not there should or could be an apology in there, because we have to own up to the violence.
The kind of violence that Pākehā people might have used when they were colonizing was so much like more direct than I thought it was.
I arrived on my ship, the Endeavour, led by Tupaia, into a bay called Turanganui Akiwa. Our expedition's first time meeting the local people there went badly. I shot and killed a man named Te Maro. We stayed for 2 more days after that, and in that time we killed 8 more men. We sailed for a week to get away from Turanganui Akiwa. I'd wanted to call it Endeavour Bay, but instead I ended up calling it Poverty Bay, because I just had such a terrible time there. Wherever we went, we just tried to get our flag up. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we often missed what was already there. We tried to call it something else, didn't listen hard enough. And with a little bit of hindsight, looking back at what I did, I wish I had played that whole thing rather differently. Because what we did left so much pain and suffering and death, which is still going on today.
Lots of the process was unpacking my own invisible racism and trying to uncover what I really thought about some things.
Well, that's the hard thing, though, isn't it? Like, to be like, yeah, like, we're getting all these things wrong.
Yes.
We're racist here. That is the place that we're coming from, is Pākehā making this work and trying to do our work and not put that all on our Indigenous people here and go, like, we've got to do some work.
It's like if you got a problem in your relationship, you have to talk about it rather than ignoring it.
Yeah.
That's my analogy.
Nice one.
Thanks.
We're not bound to repeating the same mistakes that we've always made in the past, but we have to look back, like hindsight, at the past and see what's happened and what we've done in order to inform how we approach today, how we behave, what choices we make now. So, with that, I hand it over to you. And to me, and to all of us. All of us. What are we gonna do?